Little Miss Recap contains adult language and is intended for entertainment purposes only. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Little Miss Recap. I'm Amy Archer. I'm your host, and I'm here today with Ashley, who we refer to you for some reason as BDF Ashley, but that's what you are.
I love it. I'll take it forever.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How's it going?
Everything's okay. It's a nice sunny day over here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Are you having good weather?
It rained yesterday. We've kind of had a high of mid-40s, and I love it. We just need some snow.
Okay. Well, no, we don't want snow. The older I
It can
get,
come here.
the older I get, the harder it is for me to drive in snow. Like, it's become a real problem. I had no issues with it. Like in my 20s, 30s, I was fine. But now I'm like, I don't know. It's just a weird thing that has happened to me. Now I make Timmy drive everywhere if it's snowing.
Yeah. You're like, we'll be passenger princess and let him brave the roads for you.
I really could do it. So how are you? All the kids are good? Everybody's good over there?
Everybody's good. We had strep hit our house earlier this week, and that was a disaster. I just felt extremely fatigued. My daughter handled it like running around like a psychopath.
Like a champ.
She did not slow down, but so I was like on death's doorstep, like just like laying down everywhere as we're preparing for company. So I'm like, I need to clean my house, but I can't even stand upright. So it's been an adventure.
So today we're going to be talking about Surviving Mormonism with Heather Gay. It's a new 3-part special, but I want to give everybody a content warning before we get into it that we will be discussing sexual assault, rape, the abuse of children. So if you're not in the mindset or the space to hold this content, you might want to skip this one, just giving that disclaimer right up front. So to prepare for this, you read Bad Mormon, did you say?
Yes, I read Bad Mormon, and it was really good.
Amanda really liked it too. She read it and thought it was really good. Yeah. She's well spoken. She's like, I was really impressed by her.
Yeah, I really like in memoirs when they tie into past stories to like kind of create almost like this crochet effect throughout the book of like taking past things and applying it to future situations. And she did really good with that, and or her ghostwriter did. But she what I found more difficult than I thought was her going through some of the like temple stuff that I have gone through all of that. But I haven't for years. And she goes through it word by word, and hearing it back, I was like, oh my gosh, like I cannot, hearing it with my now mindset, it was kind of like intense.
So why don't you, this is a good segue into telling everyone, why don't you remind everyone about your relationship with the church and where you're at today with that?
Yeah, so I was born in it, which we call born in the covenant. So I was born by parents who were married in the temple, and my parents weren't too strict about it. They would enforce like going to church on Sundays, but also some weeks we didn't. We were allowed to kind of bend the rules. Like sometimes my dad would drink coffee. Gasp. I do remember one time him ordering a non-alcoholic beer at dinner, like things like that, where it was just like my dad was a little bit more rebellious with that. My parents, my mom was more like the Relief Society president status. And then my dad, he was more just like, I'm going to do me and I can go to church. Like he chewed tobacco secretly. And things like that. So I kind of grew up just going every week. I am a multi-generational Mormon. So my ancestors like did practice polygamy. They traveled the plains. They lived in New York and traveled to Utah. So Mormonism runs deep in my blood. I also got married to a man who was Mormon. He had returned from his mission. We dated in high school. He went on a mission. He got home. We got married. Traditional trajectory for Mormonism. And then when we got married in the temple, I remember that's kind of when my first thoughts were setting in of like, this feels weird.
Hmm.
I continued going through the motions for about 6 years. And then in 2020, when we weren't going to church anymore, I kind of had more time to sit back and see how much of it I really wanted and how much I was just going through the motions.
Yeah.
I think that's really when my rose-colored glasses started to come off. And that's also when I was in the midst of my master's program. I started doing counseling in 2022 and really had a focus in trauma therapy, as we've talked about here.
Mm-hmm.
And doing trauma therapy in Utah, you can guess what we talked about is Mormonism and the
Yeah.
trauma and like evil within that. Not saying
Yeah.
all of it is, but there is evil within.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I could no longer separate my experience versus the systemic issue that
Yeah.
lies within Mormonism.
So did your husband leave too?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I think we talked
Yep.
about that. I just couldn't remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, slowly after me. I started the ball rolling and I would just
Mm-hmm.
pose these questions to him. And he was like,
Mm-hmm.
at first, he was like, we're not supposed to be talking about this. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
know. Like, that's the point. They don't want you talking about it. And then it'd be like a year later, he'd pose the same question back to me. So I feel like he was almost like a year behind me because
Yeah.
he's an OR nurse. So he works
Okay.
with a lot of high power Mormons
Mm-hmm.
as like surgeons.
Yeah.
And that really helped him see like the dysfunction through his own way of finding it. No matter how much I talked to him about it, he couldn't see it until he saw it for himself.
Yeah. And you don't have to answer this if it's too personal, but is your family supportive of this? Like, have they
No,
been okay? No. Okay. All right.
no, they are
I-
not.
I'm
I have
I'm
had,
like a lapsed Catholic, so I know
yeah.
nothing about, I mean,
We are ruining the eternal family for everybody for
okay. Okay. Well,
generations.
no big
So
deal. No pressure.
no,
Yeah, you're just
no big
okay. Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've had very intense conversations with them of uh what us leaving does to the big picture of our family, and
Okay.
we kind of wear it as a badge of honor now of just like,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Like it's okay
When
that we're switching things up.
when you see things like this and these stories and stuff like that, does that affirm your decision? Are you like, okay, yeah, we did the right thing?
Oh yeah,
Because
and hearing everything I heard in the documentary, that's just another day at work, unfortunately.
the one reference point I have, and it's not, it's kind of my way into this thinking is, my mom was a very devout Catholic her whole life. And when the scandal came out with the altar boys and the priests and stuff, I watched her kind of deconstruct her faith and go through all of this, and it was heartbreaking for her. Now,
Mhm.
I'm not saying these are the same things, you know what I mean? Everybody take what they want out of this, but it was a situation where I saw somebody in my life who had a deep faith have to deconstruct that and step away from the church, and it's heartbreaking. I mean, for somebody who is not religious and didn't really grow up with it, it's sometimes hard for outsiders to understand the magnitude of walking away from especially the LDS
Mhm.
church. So I was
Mhm.
grateful that Heather Gay's using her platform for this.
Oh, me too. Me too. I honestly went into all of this not really respecting her as a person. I say
Mhm.
that honestly, just because I had watched the first season of Real Housewives of Salt Lake, and I was just
That's
kind
all
of
we
like,
watched too, and I agreed with you.
yeah,
Like Heather was one of my favorites on the first season, but like I don't like any of them. So it wasn't
yes,
like she, but I did like her and I respected her story, but she's earned a whole new level of respect in my eyes after this.
yes, especially after reading her book, I feel like um, I see why she was chosen to represent like for this documentary after reading her book.
So let me ask you I can't shut off the writer part of my brain. So one of the criticisms I have of this, I thought it was really well done. She was great. She's a great listener. She's great with people. She knows how to talk to people. She's engaging. She's smart, all those things. But I didn't understand what the documentary wants to be. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Yeah.
what is the structure here? Like, it feels so informal, yet it's like this three episode arc. I think I almost feel like it should have been, say, an 8 episode series with one person being interviewed each episode. I
Mm-hmm.
thought would have been a better structure. I didn't know what this was. I enjoyed it, but I didn't understand what it was. Did you agree with that, or did you not have a problem?
Mm-hmm. If they were to ask my opinion, I would say have the first episode be like, who is Heather Gay? Why did we choose her? What's her story with Mormonism? Because they kind of threw her in as if you already knew everything.
Great
And
point.
I would have had her introduce it. So then we kind of know the foundation of her relationship with Mormonism. And then,
Mhm.
yes, go person by person. And I think in the concluding episode, having more of a what can be done? What's next? What changes are people fighting to make? What
Yeah.
how many, like, I don't know, kind of maybe gone more towards the solution focus for the end. I think
Mhm.
that would have like tied a pretty bow on it, but it was kind of very informative and then left with like a light fizzle out.
Yeah, I agree. And they set it up to suggest there's going to be more. So
Mhm.
I wonder if this was just like we're going to throw this out there and see what you guys think. And like once it did well, I mean, it is, when you think about it in the context of Bravo doing, like, this is, I don't know how to articulate what I want to say. I guess I want to say, like, this was brave of Bravo to do.
Yeah.
And I'm here for it, because
Mhm.
you would imagine that a lot of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, like, a lot of their viewers are probably, of LDS faith.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like how they're deconstructing some of the church in real time. To see somebody like Heather Gay doing it, I think is interesting, to put it on Bravo and to put it out there. So I say bravo, bravo.
Bravo, Bravo. Yeah, I think it kind of adds some depth to Bravo that I
Yeah.
don't necessarily see them having like on their other shows.
Yeah.
But what I found was interesting, like knowing that this was by Bravo, is that it kind of puts a target on their back for the Mormon church, just like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives does. But I
Mhm.
doubt um it's not like the Mormon church was co-signing anything they've done up to this point anyways. But
That's true. And
yeah,
Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, like, they're still in it. A lot of them are
they are.
still in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have a few who are breaking out. It's also important to note too, like, I'm not a huge, if you guys don't listen to me on the reg, like, I'm not a huge Housewives person. So I'm not going to be able
Mhm.
to tie things that Heather's talking about back to season 3 or season 4. We covered season 1 of Salt Lake City. It was an experiment, didn't work. I swore
Mhm.
I would never do it again. So
Mhm.
I don't watch it. You don't watch it.
No. I watched it, and I watched some of it and then watched some recaps to just kind of understand.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they don't really, it sounds like they don't really talk about Mormonism on the show, but there is still that art of perfection that I think is a result of the church culture that
Yeah.
bleeds into these shows like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. But yeah, Real Housewives isn't my jam.
No, it's not my jam either. And I appreciate that in a way, because I'm able to go into this without, a judgment of Heather, if that makes sense. Like, I just kind
Mhm.
of, I'm seeing her, how she's representing herself in this special. All right.
Mhm.
So speaking of, let's get into it, shall we? I have 5
Let's do
pages of
it.
notes. Not terrible.
Okay.
All right. So you just jump in whenever. So we meet Heather Gay, and she says she feels like Mormonism is having a moment right now. And we see some of the secret lives of Mormon wives. We see, Real Housewives. And she says a lot of the trad wife influencers are Mormon. A lot of the mom talkers are Mormon. And they're shaping this very traditional view of marriage and relationships. And it looks like unicorns and rainbows, but it is not real. And
Mhm.
she talks about the church creating a marginalized society of people who speak up and leave, and they are silenced. And if people knew what was really going on, she says it would shock people. We get
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
more of her backstory. How did you know that the church sued her for using the word Mormon in her book?
No, no, I'm so
Wild,
surprised. But I
wild.
also yeah, it makes them look bad. So, of course, they're trying to get her to change that.
Mhm. We get an LDS primer that and again, you're going to have to correct some of my LDS stuff. Like there's some stuff I don't understand. So correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
There's 3 levels of heaven, a path to perfection you can attain by following the rules and perfect standards. You have to maintain purity, no smoking, no drinking, no sex, no porn, no nothing. She says she felt a lot of guilt after speaking out, but she cannot look away any longer. And she's like, it's now or never. These stories need to be told.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
So the first person that we're going to meet, I really struggled with this. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
David Matheson. He is a
Mhm.
psychotherapist and former Mormon, and he was the pioneer of gay conversion therapy for the Mormon Church through a program called Evergreen. So, did you know this
Mhm.
program?
Yes. Yes, people still refer to it. Mhm.
So, is it still a thing?
As far as my knowledge, yeah.
Wow. So he's agreed to meet with her, and he says 5 years ago he divorced his wife and came out as gay and started renouncing the church. And I wrote, wait, so he was running the gay conversion therapy and he was gay. So sometimes I am very naive and a little sweet summer child. And I'm like, wait a minute, he was running the gay conversion therapy, but he was gay. Well, of course, he was trying
Of
to
course.
pray the gay away from him too.
Mhm. Mhm.
So Heather says same sex attraction is a gross term, but that is how
Yeah.
it is taught. Queerness is a thing that you struggle with from God. And we see this promo video for overcoming SSA, and it's bad. It's something.
It's so gross. It is. Yeah, and they really push the narrative of it is an earthly affliction. So, as soon as you die, you'll no longer be gay. So, if you can just like push that aside, have a heterosexual relationship, that by the time you get to the other side, you will have the healthy, happy family and only be attracted to the opposite sex. That's the promise if you overcome it on this earth. It's so
This
gross.
is awful. And
Yeah,
I'm not
it
gonna
is.
lie, and this is probably a hot take, but at first I was like, I don't feel like this guy deserves a redemption arc. He ruined
Mhm.
a lot of fucking lives.
He
But
did a lot of harm.
as we get to know him, I understand that he was also a victim. It's kind of like we talk about with the Serial Killer's Apprentice, that documentary that I talked about on Murder She Watched, where it's like you can be a victim and a perpetrator. You're not a victim
Mhm.
in the same way, but you are a victim of a system or something. So, like, I'm
Mhm.
trying to find grace for him, but I
Mhm.
struggled because he's probably, I mean, people have probably died because of him. I'm just gonna be very honest.
Yeah, and I really hope that he took his own repression of himself and gave compassion to the men that did come to him seeking for help. I'm
Oh,
hoping
yeah.
that is my sweet summer child. That it's like I hope he did give them some sort of empathy of like I know what you're going through. I know you can do this. Like
Mhm.
I hope that he did that, but I also see that if this were me, I would not sleep at night with the guilt I would hold for how many people I hurt because you're teaching someone that what they are is bad. And I know that he he redeemed himself in the statement at the end when he said being gay is not a choice and it is not something you have to get through. It's the way you are and that's okay. But the amount of people that won't hear this that probably still have his voice in their head just can't be undone.
And when I meet people like this or hear things like this, I always think about the kids. Like
Mhm.
how many teenagers did this guy fuck up? You know what I
Yep.
mean? Because when you're 12, 13, like you are just so emotionally fragile. And if you don't feel like you belong in the world, period, and then to add queerness on top of it and being told that that's wrong, I can't even.
Mhm.
I'm 100% convinced people died because of this man. So this is where I
Oh, for
struggle
sure.
with
For
it.
sure. Yeah.
So he was outed. He had divorced his first wife and was dating men secretly. And someone texted a gay watchdog. So apparently there's people. Is this like Covenant Eyes? Like there's people
Mhm.
watching each other for porn. Now there's people watching for gayness.
Yeah, it's like a tattletale system.
Wow. And he says, they outed me. And he says, for many years, he believes something he now knows is complete bullshit. And he and Heather talk about how they were indoctrinated from the jump, that being gay was not a real thing. He says he served his mission. And afterwards, at 23, he had to admit to himself that he was gay, but that he was going to choose not to be. And he told his bishop, and he said, it'll go away. The bishop said, it'll go away once you start having sex with your wife. Everything will be fine.
Mhm.
This poor wife.
Yes. Yes. It's not fair to her that she's like his trial run of
Yeah.
heterosexuality.
So he says, excuse me, that he was taught that God loves all of his children and would not make them gay. So this is just like a struggle that he
Mhm.
has to overcome, a
Mhm.
challenge that God has given him. So this is where I was giving him grace, because I was like, okay, if you're brainwashed to believe that,
Mhm.
then I can understand where this is coming from, and maybe you don't have the ability to step back and see the bigger picture because you're just in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I remember lessons we were taught about this, and it was very much like some people are born with with physical disabilities, like giving examples of people born without a limb.
Mhm.
That and they likened that to being gay, of just like it is just something you have to go through in this life because you chose it. So there's this whole narrative that in the pre-existence you were given kind of the layout of what your life's going to be, and you were asked
Mhm.
if you want to come to earth, and you said
Mhm.
yes. So you knew who your parents were going to be, you knew the abuse or the hardships that you could go through, and you chose that in exchange for having life. So it kind of goes along with the God gives his hardest battles to the strongest soldiers. It kind of gives that, but it's also like I chose this because my spiritual self knew that I could handle this and I could overcome it.
Little Miss Recap will return in a moment. For ad-free episodes, visit littlemissrecap.com/support. Amanda,
Amy.
for our sponsor, Lumi Gummies today, I have an idea. I think we should do a rapid fire bonus round. Which 90-day celebrity stars need a Lumi Gummy or have taken a Lumi Gummy, maybe?
Okay. Madeline.
Oh, I have her on my list too. Manon. Manon could really use indica.
Yeah, to calm her the fuck down.
Just calm down a little bit.
I think Jenny could use a sativa to maybe up the energy a little bit because there's none there.
Funny you mentioned Jenny. I have Sumit's aunt can
Oh,
use one to
definitely.
chill out a little bit.
She definitely could use one. This is a wild card. Florian could use one.
Oh.
I don't know I don't know what variety,
Yeah,
but
maybe
I feel
he
like
needs a hybrid.
I feel like Florian on a gummy would be good.
Yeah. I also have Dylan's mom from Dylan and Patia.
Yeah.
And I have Luke's dad of
Oh,
Luke and Madeline.
yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
And we can use Lumi gummies as well.
Yes.
Yes.
All the time.
Consistent, mellow, and super delicious, Lumi gummies are specifically designed to make you feel good, not stoned. Whether you're looking for an end of the day de-stressor, a midday mood boost, or help getting the best sleep ever, Lumi gummies has a strain that's right for you. So, Amanda, our flavor that we like a lot in this home is the sour strawberry cookie hybrid.
Ooh, is it particularly sour?
It's not super sour because I don't
Okay.
like sour things.
Yeah, I don't either.
But I just find that it's the perfect blend of up and down. It's right in
Okay.
the middle.
Nice.
But you feel good. I really like it.
I'm a hybrid girly myself, and I'm going to go with the watermelon sorbet because I do enjoy
Delish.
watermelon, and it's
Mhm.
just a nice, cool, chill evening of watching TV.
You know what I need to do? I need to take one before Sister Wives comes out.
Yes.
Before I
Yes.
meet my arch nemesis
Yes.
in the ring.
Yes. I think it would help you a great deal. I think it would help Cody Brown a great deal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Guys, Lumi gummies are available nationwide. Go to lumigummies.com. That's LUMI gummies.com. Use code Little Miss Recap for 30% off your order. That is Lumi Gummies, LUMI gummies.com. Code Little Miss Recap. Lumis.com. Code Little Miss Recap. It's 30%. And the link is in the show notes if you guys need it. This is something that we see in Sister Wives when Cody and the wives are talking about like this idea that you have to struggle, that struggling makes you worth God loving you. And I'm just like as an outsider, as an atheist, I'm just like, I don't understand. I do understand it because I grew up in the Catholic Church, but it's just so wild to me. I'm like, why would a benevolent God who like loves everybody want his people to suffer so much? It just doesn't make sense to me. Again, I know nothing about this. Okay. So in Evergreen, they dug into parental relationships and they would tell you that you needed to be closer to your dad and to be more masculine. So they were kind of alienating these men from their mothers. And then you had a rebirth situation where they would put you on the ground and put a blanket over you and they would sit on it and the man has to find his way out. That's finding their power. But we also learned that at Evergreen, men were all hooking up because that's what they wanted. And
Of course
that was
they are.
okay. Yes.
Of course they are. Yeah.
So they were having like cuddle parties and stuff like that. And David says, look, you cannot heal gay. You cannot pray it away. You just, he says, I barely survived. And this is bullshit. Like he sees it now. He cries. He wonders if his life was a sham. And Heather assures him that even though it was later, at least he did something and he spoke out. And I get it. And I think that was a kind thing for her to say. That's what I'm going to say there.
Yeah, I think it was her way of easing his discomfort, but the discomfort deserves to be there too.
Yeah, I agree. So he says Mormonism is a cruel culture. It's the kindest cruel culture because it doesn't feel like cruelty. And he says he called Heather because he's scared that there's a swing back towards this church in pop culture. And Heather says, yeah, I agree with you. And this shit is still happening today and people don't know about it. And she brings up such a good point. You turn on TikTok, you see these trad wives, you see the Mormon wives, you're thinking Mormonism looks great. But this is the underbelly that everybody needs to know about. So Heather is kind of reeling afterwards. She gets in her little car. There's a lot of Heather driving around talking. And
no, I'm like, it's her office.
She says, imagine being a parent and you are told that your child is broken because they're gay and that it is your fault and that your child is suffering because of you. Heather explains now that with the setup of the church, there's a prophet and his 12 apostles at the top, and they show a picture and they are all old white men, which nobody's surprised about.
Every single one of them.
And then there's kind of, I don't think they did this on purpose, but they showed it like a pyramid scheme. There's a pyramid and at the bottom is the local ward and they are all men as well, correct?
The local ward, that's everybody. So that would be women as well.
Oh, okay. So who's over the local ward?
The bishop.
Okay, but they're all men?
They're all men. So the bishopric. So the bishop has counselors, and then above the bishopric is the stake presidency, and they're all men. And then the stake presidency, then there's the quorum of the 70. So it's 70 men that are old men.
Old white men.
And yep. Well, they're starting to have a little bit of diversity, but yes, 90% of them. And then above that is the 12 apostles, and then above that is the prophet.
So that was my question for you later. What is a stakeholder? Like, what is that? The stake president and stuff.
So wards are by geographical division,
Mhm.
and then the stake president is over several of those wards.
Okay.
So like in my childhood ward, there was like I want to say like 10 wards per stake, and the
Okay.
stake had a president. So if you had a big enough issue that your bishop couldn't handle, then it would go to the stake president. And so the stake president was just seen as like higher priesthood
Gotcha.
power.
Okay. Wow. The LDS Church is the fifth largest private landowner in the nation, 1.7 million acres. And they even
Yeah.
have like a real estate arm. Like they have a lot of money.
Yeah. And so many people have the church as their beneficiary when they die of their land and
Yes.
buildings and stuff over their children. Like it is a very common thing.
And we know that they have to pay a tithe of 10% of their
Hmm.
income.
Hmm.
Heather describes herself as a cradle Mormon, born into it. And she says she loved the family, was taught it's all about family. And then she met someone that she thought, would continue this with her. But it was pretty much a mistake from the start. And as we know, he asked for a divorce. She writes about that in Bad Mormon. And during this time, she met Shane Welch. He was coming out and she was getting divorced. So they were both kind of being ostracized and they became friends. And Shane's husband is Ben, and she's going to go see him in episode 2.
Hmm.
So in episode 2, we get some background. Oh, wait, before I get there, Heather says something really interesting that I thought was a really good point. She's like, I loved God and I believed in God, and I'm angry that the church took God away from me. And I thought that was I've never heard that
Hmm.
perspective, but it makes total sense. And I saw my
Hmm.
mom go through that with a little bit. Like she really was angry that her faith was being taken away from her by this Catholic institution.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely feel that. I feel like I've transitioned to more of an agnostic approach where I'm like, if
Mhm.
there's a God or if there's not, I'm fine. But I definitely went through a stage of like, I will never submit to a like man again. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
kind of had this like, I will never have like a man figure over me telling me what to do, even if it's God. And now I'm kind of to the point that, I'm a little bit less angry about it, and I just see as God as everyone's connection to something greater, and you can connect that with whatever you choose. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a man or a woman, it could just be the universe.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Um,
it definitely is a process for sure. I feel like Mormonism takes away that aspect of God because, like my anger, it felt just like another man telling me how to live my life.
yeah, I get that. How did you feel about the little sprinkling of history that we got? Like we learned about Joseph Smith and how he was run out of New York because two brothers found him in bed with their 14-year-old sister, and that Brigham Young then brings everybody to Utah. Like, did you like those little parts of history, or do you think like there should have been more, or, how'd you feel about those parts?
As embarrassing as it is to say,
Mhm.
I barely learned that history about a year ago
Hmm.
because we just are taught over and over again. Like we literally sing songs about Joseph Smith being prosecuted for being the one true church. That's why
Yeah.
everyone was mad at him because he was so good that people
Mhm.
were mad at him about it. And so, when I brought this up to my in-laws, because my father-in-law, he's been a bishop, he's been all the things. They just are like, that's not true. Like, there's no what sources are you going to this? You should only be going to
Oh.
sources within the church.
Ugh.
Everything else is again blasphemy, trying to shoot him down because he was so righteous. Like,
Okay. Gotcha.
yeah. So I
Gotcha.
liked it because I feel like there's Mormons today that don't know that information.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Ben and Shane have an adorable daughter together. This girl
Oh
is
yeah,
real cute.
Dorothy,
Mhm.
like she's adorable.
I know. I love it. So Ben is nervous about sharing his story, but here we go. He was the fifth of 8 children. They were all Mormon. He says he was really involved in his ward and he trusted them. He trusted the men who were over him, quote unquote. And he was sexually abused, and he names his abuser. He's like, I was sexually abused by Jess Hurtado, at 4 years old until 9 years old. And I just kind of gasped at like, wow, you are naming this person. Like, bravo. This is so fucking brave.
Yeah. Yeah. When he named him, it like shocked me.
Yes.
But I was also like, hell yeah. Like,
Yeah.
name him. Like, he
Yeah.
is the disgusting person here. This has nothing to do with your choices.
Yeah. So they were in Sunday school, and this dude, Jess Hurtado, grabs him and another girl, brings them to a field and assaults and abuses them. And he says sometimes he was alone, sometimes there were other kids, sometimes there were other adults. And Ben felt a ton of shame. I mean, you're a kid. Of course you feel shame. You don't know what's going on. They threatened him with excommunication, told him he'd be separated from his family. He cries. I wrote, fuck, this is hard. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
really hard.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This gets pretty dark. This dude was raping 12-year-olds. It's really dark.
Yeah.
Now I did pull up. So Floodlit is the organization. We actually see Heather talk about it later. It's a nonprofit that lists these predators, and it's a database, if you will. And this guy was, he had LDS positions during his crime of teaching Sunday school. So he's in a position where he has access to all these kids.
Yep.
He was convicted, and we'll talk about this later, in 1994. Church members wrote letters of support to try to keep him out of jail, and ward officials accused of failure to report for what has happened here. So, we'll talk a little bit more about him, but he is in this database, as he should be.
Good. He should be.
Yeah. And his name is Jesus Hurtado in this, but there's an AKA of Jess Hurtado. Okay, so Ben says, like you and I talked about, he felt that he was born with this challenge in life to overcome, which was being gay. When he was 23, he came out and he told his parents, and his parents are like, oh, we need to fix you. We got to send you to conversion therapy. There's no way. We learn about this dude, Dean Bird, who's a big conversion therapy guy. Did you know that name?
No, I had never heard of him, but just hearing him talk, I was like, this is gross.
And surprise, surprise, he's an old white guy.
Yep.
And for Ben, he said he felt like his gayness and his abuse were intertwined. So I want to talk about that for a minute, because as a therapist, maybe you've come across some of this or you know this phenomenon, but trying to be very vague here. I know people in my life who this has happened to. They were abused, and it creates this weird area where you're like, am I gay? Am I not gay? Like the idea of sexuality and sexual abuse are so intertwined that you really have to kind of pull them out and separate them and work on them individually.
Yeah, I see that a lot, especially working with trauma, because I see it go several ways, where someone can have abuse by same sex or opposite sex, and then have sexual attraction and not knowing how to divide the two, regardless of who they're attracted to, or what gender they're attracted to, because sexuality just gets so muddy. I even see that a lot with people who have been abused, and then there's the amount of sexual partners they have. Like there's so many different correlations, because it just feels like muddy waters. What was your question?
No. I just want you to speak on it a little bit.
Okay.
Do you watch Secret Lives of Mormon Wives?
Yes.
Okay, so we're seeing this in season 2. There's this whole, or season 3, there's this whole storyline with Michaela and her husband, and she's really struggling sexually because she was abused at such a young age, and she associates sex with fear. She's afraid of it, she's ashamed of it, and she's kind of working through these things. And she's young. I mean, she's in her early 20s, mid 20s. So like we're kind of seeing what this looks like for women as well as for men, but it's just this poor man. So Ben reported this to his bishop, and he named Jess. He's like, here's who did this to me. But Jess was still a member of his parents' stake at this point. So this is where I have, what does this mean? So I think Ben's dad was a stakeholder. Is that
He was
stake
a state.
president?
He was a stake. He was in the stake. He's probably a counselor, how he was said it. So it's
Okay.
considered he was in the stake presidency is how they will say it. But so they will say that if you're a counselor, but they won't say that if you're the president. So I assume he's a counselor.
So Ben's dad and others confront Jess, and Jess is like, "Oh, that kid probably has me mixed up with somebody else. Just tell him to give me a call and I'll set the record straight." And end of investigation. That's it. Could you fucking imagine your child coming to you and saying this? And this is what happened to Michaela.
I would burn houses down. I would burn houses down.
I would too. And this is what happened to Michaela. She talks about that, how she was abused and nobody believed her. The damage that is done. Ugh.
But something they said in there that I had never realized, but I fully believe, is that Jess had more worth to the church than a child because he's a tithing, paying dad. Him going there has a whole family going there, like almost as if you protect the head of the household, the patriarch of the family, which is a phrase we heard all the time, because they are treated like mini gods of the family and of the church. So yeah, he valued more than a child.
So Ben's father sends a statement into this documentary basically saying, like, I don't know, I wasn't in a position to do anything, so not my fault, not my bad, which I was like, wow, okay.
Screw that guy.
So now Ben goes through a disciplinary council, which is a public display of his sins in front of 12 men. They decide your punishment, and they're basically like, you need to repent and stay away from temptation, and we will help you. And he breaks, and he's like, I'm gay, and I'm leaving. Like, Ben left the church. That was it, because the people who were supposed to protect him couldn't protect him, including his parents. This is, I was enraged. I was in a rage watching this.
The disciplinary councils are so gross too. They really just pick you apart as a person and want you to be like groveling to be a part of the church.
And let me guess, all men, right? All men?
All men. Yeah. My grandma had to go through this. She was unmarried and was in a relationship with a man who was technically married but separated. And they had a sexual relationship that she told them about. And she had to go through this council of men, and they excommunicated her. Whereas I have another family member who was married and was having on-the-job relationships, but he was buddy-buddy with all the guys that were interviewing him, and he got away scot-free. So it really depends on your there is like a good boy system going on within that, for sure.
Because that's what this system needs. Corruption. More corruption. Okay.
Yep.
So Heather asks, where is this motherfucker now? And Ben's like, he's still in the church. Like he still goes to church. It's wild. And he said, I had never named him, but I have a friend named Ginger who sued him civilly in 2017 and won. And Ginger reported the abuse a lot, and two bishops did nothing. So Ben's like, I'm going to start naming this dude, and I'm going to come out and do it. And I was very proud of him. I thought this was an amazing act of strength on his part.
Yeah. And he was taking his power back, like from Jess, like for Jess to have the power to say, like, he must have me confused. And he's like, nope, this is your name and everyone will know.
Jesus. So in 2019, the church finally excommunicated Jess, but Ben and at this hearing, Ben and Ginger testified to the disciplinary council. But in 2023, like, just because he's excommunicated, I guess he can still go to church.
Oh yeah, you just get rebaptized, basically. Like you have to give it some break. I had a neighbor next door. He was in all the shit with like Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell. Like he was in that whole like. We could totally have a chat about that. But so he was in all of that, and he got excommunicated. And
was he in Jody Hildebrandt's group?
Not Jody Hildebrandt. Jody Hildebrandt was with Ruby Frankie.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm mixing them up. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Lori
yeah.
Vallow.
I mean,
Wow. Way worse.
yes,
Okay.
Lori
Well, I mean,
Vallow. Yes,
all bad, but way worse because she's
but
murdered
Melanie
people.
Gibbs might be who you're thinking of. Like he's with
Okay.
all of them of like how to be like the highly favored of the Lord and pierce and go through the veil, and there's light and dark in people.
Oh
Like
my God.
he's in all of that. He served many missions. He taught many people the church. He did so much damage. He was a seminary teacher, so that means he taught high schools. He did so much damage, got excommunicated. Still goes to church every week. Like
Wow. Are
like
you seeing the
nothing, you would think
horrified look
nothing
on my
happened.
face? I'm
Yeah.
horrified.
Yeah. Mhm.
Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. Haven't thought about that in a minute. Wow.
Yeah. And she hasn't been excommunicated. So like remember
Wow.
this because
Okay.
yeah.
So Heather is shaken up by this whole thing. And she's like, the role of the bishop, like he's second to God. He can help your family. He'll know what to do. And she always thought the authorities were not involved because nothing bad was happening. And, we hear a lot of this from Christine Brown. If you're a Sister Wives watcher, Christine always talks about, she is a descendant of Rulon. I forget his last name.
Rulin Allred.
Rulon Allred, right?
Rulin. It's like the O is like pronounced like an E, like Rulin.
Okay.
It's a Mormon name. Yeah.
She grew up, she was polygamy royalty. We all have learned this, but she talks about like everything was perfect and her childhood was sunshine and rainbows. And I always have to kind of check that when I hear it. And I'm thinking, okay, you were a kid. You were a white woman, you were protected, you knew nothing about what was really going on. Like, you were straight by all accord. Like, so I think there's a little bit of that with Heather Gay, a little bit of like everything was so great, but at least Heather Gay acknowledges this and is like, yeah, everything. I thought everything was great.
Yes,
So
because you do have a really good childhood if it's done right, and I think that's where a lot of this gets swept under the rug because probably for the majority, everyone's like, I had a really great life in Mormonism.
Yeah.
And then it makes the victims say, well, what was wrong with me that I didn't? Or why was that not my experience?
Little Miss Recap will return in a moment. For ad-free episodes, visit littlemissrecap.com/support. So the bishops have a hotline they use when they suspect abuse. It literally kind of just rings at a law firm. Like ding, ding, ding. Oh, I'm lawyer A here. What's your problem? Okay, well, here's how you need to legally get around this. This is wild to me. Wild. We're introduced to Nick Jones, who is a bishop who stood up and left his bishop position. And he says, as a bishop, he saw some real shit. But when this 17-year-old girl came to him, so the 17-year-old girl comes to him and she confesses that she had sex, right? And he's like, okay. And she's like, well, don't you want the details? And he's like, what do you mean, do I want the details? And she's like, well, don't you know if I orgasmed or if he did or where he touched me on my body? And Nick Jones is like, what is happening here? And he realizes, he puts it together in that moment that like the former bishop has asked her. So he's like, nope, I need to kind of step away from this. So he is like, I'm done.
That is the majority of people's experience going through the repentance process is having to go like touch by touch with the bishop.
Nick says, I had a wife call me and say, my husband is a pedophile and he's abusing my children and I don't know what to do. And so he called the helpline and it rang at Curtin McConkie. Is that the law firm? And Heather says, oh, I know them because they fought me on a trademark. And the McConkie lawyer told Nick, since the daughter's not really a child anymore, there's nothing we could do. But there's an outside source kind of keeping a list. And we essentially see Heather. This is where she shows us Floodlit. And they have a database of all of.
And I have never heard of this. I like want to search every creepy person that I know.
Yes. So Heather's in episode 3, we see like Heather's really hard on herself for not waking up to this sooner. But I mean, she was indoctrinated too. And like you said, if life's going pretty good for you and you don't know anyone who life's not going good for, going well for. I could see how you're just in that bubble, like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So she
I feel
meets.
that guilt. I feel
Go
that
ahead.
guilt often of just like, I am
Really?
so sorry I was a part of an organization that hurt so many people. Like I definitely feel that, especially when I'm talking to like my queer friends or hearing a client who's like has been so hurt by this. Like
Yeah.
I cannot ignore that intense guilt of like, I hate that I ever was associated with such a like destructive like
Yeah.
organization.
I would probably feel the same way. I get it.
Yeah.
Even though, you were brainwashed into it. So you had no
Yeah.
agency to opt into
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she meets with these sisters, Liz and Jenny, and Liz is 5 years older than Jenny, and they were Navy brats at the start of their life. They lived in San Diego. Then they moved to Minnesota, where there was a small LDS branch, and their father, oh my God, this man, he
I hate
molested
him.
and raped them and blamed it on Satan.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Even
They
though
say
he
that,
knew he was going to do it before
yeah.
they were even born.
So they say their father used the church as a shield and he abused all of them. This was interesting. They abused all of them differently, including their brother, so that they were isolated and couldn't talk to each other about it. This guy got creative, which is fucking gross. These two
Which
sisters are amazing.
they are. And something that I feel like is important to say, just in case anyone is like, I has that fear that they too will ever like abuse a child or something. That
Mm-hmm.
is OCD. I don't think people talk about that very much, but there is an
What do you mean?
OCD component. There's an
Mm-hmm.
OCD component of obsessive thoughts about obsessive sexual thoughts about children or incest. Like you can have like obsessive thoughts that lead to behaviors. And if you approach them through an OCD lens, they are very treatable. But I think that's what he was having. I think he was having these obsessive thoughts of, I know I'm going to do this. I know I'm going to do this. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. I have
Mm-hmm.
clients with suicidal OCD where they're just like,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to die by suicide. I know that I'm going to.
Mm-hmm.
And that thought just has so much power that they act on it, which is the compulsion part of OCD, obsessive
Mm-hmm.
compulsive disorder. So you obsess about it, you compulse, you do it, and the cycle
Right.
repeats itself. But for him to put it under the guise of Satan is disgusting.
So if that happens, say he was having these thoughts and he was treated
Mhm.
for OCD, this may
Mhm.
not have occurred.
Oh yeah, OCD is
Okay.
like
Wow.
very treatable.
Okay. So mom finds out about this, catches him in the act. Liz is 5.
Blood would be shed, Amy. Blood would
Oh
be
my
shed.
God. She goes to her bishop. She was deeply indoctrinated. I mean, her family was generations into this. So she does what she has been trained to do, which is to go to her bishop. And he does nothing but tell her, oh God, are you ready for this? You need to have more sex with your husband. It's your fault that he's doing this because you're not keeping him, I don't know, occupied, sexually satisfied. What?
Yep.
Like, oh
Yep.
my God, now we're blaming women
Mhm.
for this.
Oh, for sure, for sure. This happens all the time too with like my husband's cheating on me. Well, when was the last time you had sex with him? Like
Oh my
this
God.
is such a common thing because you think these are untrained professionals. These are like these are untrained men in leadership that like you're literally asking a carpenter what you should do about your husband doing this to your child and
Yeah.
he's like
Yeah.
goes through his own experience and he's like, well, I've never had that, but maybe it's because my wife sleeps with me often. Like, like this
That's
is
a good point. That's a good
harm.
point. The people who are in these authority roles that you are supposed to go to are just your average people. They don't have
Yes.
training in psychology. They don't have training
Mhm.
in victim impact. Like they are just Joe
Mhm.
Schmo off the street.
Yeah, yeah. I had
Okay.
no idea that other clergy has to go through education. That was
Yeah.
that like blew my mind when I found that out. I was like, and they're just over here just soliciting this advice that can literally ruin people or end people's lives.
They send this father to LDS counseling. And when he's telling them, I'm assuming in some sort of intake situation, why he's there, they're like, dude, stop talking, because we're mandated reporters. We're gonna have to say something. So just zip your lips. He leaves, never goes back. The abuse not only continued, but ramped up, became more violent. The bishop had the opportunity and obligation, Liz says, to report this, as did our mother, as did that counseling center, and nobody did it. And now we learn about, and I had a question for you, but I think you've already explained it, but premortal existence, which is this idea that you come to your family and you're a spirit picking your family. I just wrote, what?
Yes, you are. Yep. Your pre-existence.
Okay. So mom catches dad again. This time Liz is 10, 5 years later. Mom goes to the priesthood. They excommunicate the father. The entire disciplinary council, knew about this abuse. No one called the police. Not one of these leaders looked out for these girls. And he would just keep abusing them, because you can kick him out of the church, but they didn't throw him out of his family. So he's still with the girls. That doesn't solve it, right? Am I misinterpreting that?
And no, you're absolutely accurate, because something that they tell us early on, and which is so gross, like, I tell you, this is like really resurfaced a lot of the phrasing that was used, not in like a traumatic way, but in like a eye-opening way. But they would always tell us God's law is greater than man's law. So why would anyone need to go to the cops?
Wow.
It's being settled with God.
Wow.
God's law is greater than man's law. Yeah.
So mom decides, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure these girls are never alone with him. And, that's great, but she's human and she needs to sleep and she can't watch this guy all the time. So Heather says she actually heard from somebody that one mother slept in front of her child's door. I need a second with that.
They sleep with their kids so that it'll stop.
I mean,
because leaving your husband is a failure in the eternal family. And so this seems like, what element of this is in my control? I'll sleep with her, and usually, or she'll sleep in bed with both of us. This is something that is so sad that I see all the time. I'll just have her sleep in bed with both of us, and there's no way he would do it with me laying right there.
Yes, he would.
He will.
Yeah. This made me like almost burst out into tears when I got to this part. It was so bad. All right. So the church leaders knew he was excommunicated, but the church members didn't. So the family, they just kept going to church and everything was A-okay on the outside. They say, and this was interesting, that once online chat rooms, we talk a lot about social media on Little Miss Recap, and I have a complicated relationship with it, but this is where it's good. And we get these online chat rooms, and their mother starts talking with people anonymously, and they validate her. And she's like waking up to this. The only problem is she wakes up to it and she like fucks off to Ireland and leaves these girls with him.
No.
For a whole summer.
Which I could see how her getting out of the bubble of Mormonism and like talking to people outside could have saved her kids, but she chose to have it save herself.
Yeah. Like, go to Ireland, but take your kids with you.
Yeah. Or find alternative childcare.
So mom comes back, and then she moves Liz and Jenny to Utah to be among the safety of the real Mormon church, as they say. Liz had a son at 18. And I would imagine this is very common, that once you become a parent, you realize that what was done to you was not okay. And Liz says this was a real turning point for her, and she cut her father off completely. The only time they talked was when she pressed charges, and she pressed charges in San Diego since they lived there the longest. And let me tell you something, California's not going to fuck around with this. They're going to go hard at it. And they did.
Yep. So and her getting him to confess was disgusting to hear. But I'm hear so these proud of her.
Yes, me too. We hear these calls and he's confessing. I wrote, this guy's a real fucking scumbag.
Yep.
Like,
when she's like, do you remember when mom walked in on us? And he's like, which time? I was like,
Okay, so he was arrested pretty quickly after her recorded confession, and he was released in 2023 after serving only 15 years of his 30-year sentence. And guess what, Ashley? He reoffended immediately with child sexual abuse material, and he's back
Yep.
in jail. Mhm.
Yep.
So in 2020, Liz and Jenny sue the church and they come to an undisclosed settlement. Good for you. I hope you got fucking millions. And I hope you
Yep.
donated to organizations like RAIN.
And how she said that she was like having to equate her abuse with dollar signs and how like gross that felt. I'm like,
Yep.
and how the lawyers were so insensitive to her experience. And these are members of the church, the same church that caused all this abuse. And they're just acting like they are just these money grabbing, like crybabies. And it's disgusting.
The church threw their mother under the bus. She should have
Yep.
done better. She should have protected you. I wanted to throw my television out a window.
Yep. Yep. And that's a very common phrase where it is not our job to call the police. You are more than capable of doing that. It is like, you don't need our permission to turn him in. You don't
So
like,
we're going
really
to
put it back.
Yeah, we're going to brainwash you to never turn to an outsider for protection. We're going to, if not imply, overtly say that you will be thrown out of the only church you've ever known, the only family you've ever known. Your entire world will crumble if you turn to an outside authority. But then we're going to say, you could have turned to that outside authority at any time. I don't know why you didn't.
Yeah. Why would you just call a bishop? Like, that's not
Jesus.
his job to arrest him. Like, yeah.
So, it's interesting because one of the interesting parts for me was watching Jenny and Liz struggle with how they feel about their mother. And I get this because she should have protected them. But they also see her as a victim. Like, here we are again, right? So they're struggling with that, you could tell.
And
And
it's definitely one of those, I think both can be true.
Yeah.
Like we talked about.
And Heather says, in the end, they care more about the church than the children.
Yeah.
And that's a fucking statement. That is a fucking statement. And Liz says, I'm not going to shut up. I'm just not. And then we see the scene with Heather at the end where she says she struggles with the word cult because it eradicates the beautiful parts of her parents and her childhood. But here I am. I was raised in a cult. And we saw Christine Brown struggle with that too. Like saying, I don't know how to. Was I raised in a cult? Was I born into like we see some of the Brown wives are starting to kind of come around to this. So final thoughts.
Yeah.
She says she can use her light to bring these stories into the open. It's had a profound effect on Heather and her faith. These stories need to be told, and she hopes that survivors will put their faith in humanity and come forward. And she's determined to use her platform for sharing these stories. And at the end, we see her get an email from someone saying they are a sex worker and a high-end gay escort for Mormon leadership. And that's how it ends. And it does end, and I do want to say this, that if you or someone you love has been sexually assaulted or abused, you're not alone. Contact RAIN, RAINN, 24/7 to connect with a real live person who's trained to help. Go to rain.org. That's how we end it. It was powerful.
It was, especially at the end where she like admits that she was in a cult. Like I felt my stomach like drop to my toes when she said it. And just now when you just said it, I felt that exact same feeling. Cause I think there's like this part of me and anyone who's left organized religion that's like, but what if it wasn't? Am I just being over exaggerating? And like one of my big deconstruction moments was when I literally Googled signs you're in a cult. And the things that came up, I just want to read to you. Yep, this is the exact same article that would have prevented all of this, because the first sign is absolute authoritarianism without accountability, zero tolerance for criticism or questions, lack of meaningful financial disclosure regarding the budget, unreasonable fears about the outside world that often involve evil conspiracies and persecutions, a belief that former followers are always wrong for leaving and there's never a legitimate reason for anyone else to leave, the abuse of members, records, books, articles, or programs documenting the abuse of the leader or group, followers feeling like they are never good enough, a belief that the leader is right at all times, a belief that a leader is the exclusive means of knowing truth or giving validation. And that would have stopped all of this.
Oh, Jesus. And I want to say for people who are like, I'm not Mormon. I know no one who is. This doesn't affect me. This does not touch my life. This 100% touches your life. Because if you don't think that this very large, very white, male-centric conservative group does not have political power, you are crazy, because they have a lot of political power and they are shaping policy that affects all of us.
Yeah.
And
they are one
that
of
is
the
terrifying.
they're one of the top stockholders in the country. So they are shaping so much. Like the amount of money they give to Meta and Amazon, and like it is so gross. Like they're a $1 billion company.
Yeah.
They impact everybody. And I also like I want to note this because I did read something on the BDF page last night, and I wanted to be conscious of it coming into it today, where someone was like, I'm a member of the church. Is there space for me here? And I would like to say, I see good people here too.
Sure.
And
Of course.
I see those people wanting to be the change. And that is something that for me, I felt more power leaving and saying I'm not going to be a part of it, but it doesn't take away from someone's experience saying I want to be the change from within, and I hope that they can make an ounce of change. And it doesn't make you less of a person, but I think the more you can be aware of the problems, the more help you can be. So I don't want this to be like pointing fingers like anyone still there is dumb, because there's so many layers to this, and some of the layers are good.
I appreciate that. And I'm sure the BDFs appreciate that as well. Yeah. And, the more that we can have these conversations, the more that the good people inside the church will have some sort of direction to aim that at. You know what I mean? Like, I love, and Amanda and I talked about this a lot in our slow-mo coverage, Mormon Wives coverage. I love that they're having conversations on air and using their huge platform to talk about like abuse and stuff like that. Heather Gay's doing it too. Like, this will make people, you have to see the problems before you can acknowledge them. So if good souls are in the church and they see this, hopefully that gives them the direction of which to begin the work, right? To do good from inside. So I do think that's important. And I have so much respect for Heather Gay for this. I thought it was so brave of her, so brave of the people who spoke with her. And this is a great example of like using your power for good, using your voice for good. I mean, I'm a writer, I'm a memoirist. I talk about this all the time. One of the strengths of memoir is when you tell your story, there might be 5 people in the entire world that hear your story and it resonates with them. But like you've touched 5 people who are like, oh my God, I'm not alone in this. And this is, it's validating for them. And that is a priceless gift for people that you can give them, is to share your story and let them recognize a little bit of themselves in it. And she's done that. And I say, we need more of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I challenge anyone to read her book. Amy, you definitely should as well. I'd love to hear your take on it. But the way that she does really tie in the like rainbows and unicorns and butterflies that she grew up with to her choice to leave and her telling her children that she was leaving, in such an authentic way that I think could really educate people from the outside looking in, but also from the inside looking out. Because I really think about the phrase that your mom said often about if they're brave enough to tell their story, then I will listen to it.
Yeah.
I might have butchered it, but yeah.
No. That's what she says.
Yeah. And I really I really resonate with that because although no harm ever happened to her, she really still had like a story to tell because it shaped her whole world.
Mhm.
And it did a lot of harm to her just by doing the rule following contest that is Mormonism.
Yeah, and it harmed people she loved around her.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she's doing something about it. And she has
Mhm.
power and status as protection to do something about it. And I'm like, bravo, girl. Bravo, bravo.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. Heather Gay.
Yes. All right, Ashley, thank you so much for joining me for this. Like your expertise and your experience are so invaluable. So thank you very much for lending them to this episode.
Thank you for having me. I will come back anytime.
All right, guys, please remember that, the link to Rain is in the show notes. So if you or somebody you know needs that support, please reach out and get it. And I just want to reinforce the idea that there is help for everybody.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. Ashley, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening to Little Miss Recap. If you'd like to support the show and get a ton of bonus content, including all episodes ad-free, please visit our Patreon. The link is in the show notes. If we've earned it, please consider leaving us a 5-star review wherever you listen. If you have someone in your life who loves trash TV, please consider sharing this episode and telling them about the pod. I hope you've enjoyed this episode because we made it for you.